Okay, do we have sound now? Do we have any sound?
Try now.
Do we have sound?
Yeah.
Okay, goodness. Sorry about that, guys. That's a crazy thing about computers. All of you experience this. Welcome. It's Big Man Comics live with Gabe tape, and you got to see me silent for about a minute there. So crazy thing about computers, 100% of you know this is true. You can have a computer and you set something up and it's working, and you don't touch. You do not 100% touch anything. You don't adjust anything. You don't do anything, and you come back and the settings change themselves. It fascinates me how stupid that is. I wonder how that happens. I do wonder. That's insane.
I'm not sure. That's really weird. But we've got some people here.
I thought I saw a super chat when I looked up there.
You do have a super chat.
So we need to.
Graph Web sent $2.
All right. Thank you, Graph Web.
It says FFS. I don't know what that stands for.
For fuck's sake.
Oh.
He's not happy about something.
Hashtag cancel Disney Plus.
What happened to Disney? What, did they do something that I don't know? I mean, who cares about them anymore? I don't disagree with you, like Disney, whatever. I don't have it. I don't have Disney Plus. I don't have Netflix. I don't have Hulu. And shame, finger of shame on all of you that do. You're giving money to people who hate you. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Now, what we did do, though, because they do have some classics, is buy the DVDs.
That's fine.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, because they're just a normal movie, no crazy agenda, and it's one-time fee, and you don't support their ongoing trash because we got them off of OfferUp, so they already made them.
Yeah.
Long
we went to that pawn shop near the university and got a bunch of classics for 25, 50 cents a piece because people are giving up on their DVDs and all that stuff. So yeah, you could get the old. Is it Jeffrey Katzenberg was in charge over there when they were doing Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, and all that stuff? I just read a story that a guy that directed, I think he directed The Little Mermaid and a few things, coming out of retirement to help Disney find their own ass with a map, which I don't think they're capable of.
Right.
You know, so it's going to be interesting to see. They're in a nosedive at 700 miles an hour. Let's see if Disney can pull this off and not slam into the ground of failure.
Well, we got to give a thanks to FFS. So
shake, 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 shake your booty, shake your booty.
That's what happens every time you give a super chat. So if you want to see the Belgian buns, Jean-Claude Van Damme, then yes, that's what the super chat will get you. Thank you for sending that. Very generous, my friend.
We got a couple of people saying hello.
Hello.
Antonio707 is here. He let us know there was no sound.
Yeah, there was no sound to start. But that's the thing I'm saying. Does anyone have any theories? I'm very good with computers. I'm very computer savvy. I've been using the computers at a very high level since the late 90s. I was a manager at Hewlett Packard. Believe it or not, when I was an 18-year-old boy, I was a manager for different things at a Hewlett Packard assembly line here in San Diego. And I have no idea why that happens with computers. Why you touch nothing and the setting is changed. That I will never understand that. It happens to everyone, though. You all know that happens. So if anyone has any ideas on what goes on there.
It happens on your phone, too, sometimes.
It happens everywhere.
Yeah, so it's not just computers. Diane Francis says, good morning. Or, I'm sorry, just morning.
Morning, Diane.
Ramdog1138 says, hi, folks.
Hello, Ramdog.
And Antonia's agreeing with Graph Web saying, let Disney fail.
Yeah, let them fail. The only way they'll learn.
Yeah, you were telling me a story about the girl who played Snow White this morning. What you thought.
Everyone loves her because that she cost Disney zillions of dollars with her very rude and very horrible anti-customer public persona in the lead up to the Snow White movie that utterly failed, cost them zillions of dollars. And read a story that she's in the West End, that is the British version of Broadway, where if you're a serious dramatic actor in plays, then you'll end up in the West End doing shows, right? And they're doing Evita, the Eva Peron story, and I guess there's the big number, the big song, "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina." She sings from a balcony. I think Madonna did that in the movie. I believe that's how the original Andrew Lloyd Webber play is. And she sings it on a balcony at the theater in England, outside of where the actual play is. All the people spend, hundreds and hundreds of euros to go see this thing. It's very exclusive. And she sings it where they can't see her to like help, social justice and DEI concepts of, hey, all the people who could afford tickets here, that's not fair to the people who can't, in keeping with the theme of the movie of Eva Peron and her husband, Eva Peron being like a Marxist, communist, socialist person, I guess she was. I don't know a lot about her. I know she died very young, and she was a hero to the Argentinians at the time, I guess. But she sings it outdoors, and everyone who paid for the ticket gets to watch on a Jumbotron inside the theater. And that way, all the richy riches get to feel what it feels like to, I don't know what. It just, I don't even, the shit these people do makes no sense,
But giving the show to the people outside for free also.
Right.
So in
she's
the socialist Marxist way, you don't have to work for anything.
Right. She's a hero for doing that. And she saved the world when she did it. Right?
Yeah.
That's how that works.
I don't understand why these people would go to that, because the first show, nobody knew she was going to do that. All the shows after that, you're buying a ticket, you know that they're going to do that. Why would you go to a show where the actor hates you?
I don't know. I think at first you wouldn't know. Like the first couple shows, they wouldn't know, and then word will start to get out. And
right.
It's a little story on social media. You're right. Funny to me. Like, who cares? I don't know. Do we care about British theater? How much do we care about that? I don't know.
Not much. But
this woman does find a way to constantly be like one of the most annoying human beings on earth, though.
Yeah, I don't know the audience besides a leftist woman who would like her, because I don't imagine that men like her.
No, and she's not attractive. That's mean, but I don't care because it's true. She's not attractive, which is weird because actresses, I hate to tell everyone this, are supposed to be attractive. Oh, is that sexist of me? That's like saying athletes are supposed to be fast. Right? Like, yeah, actresses are supposed to be pretty, yes.
Yeah, she's got a funny looking face.
She's an unattractive woman. Sorry. She is. She's weird looking.
Antonius 707 says weird.
Right.
That was the description of her face.
Yeah, she is. She's a strange looking woman, and not in a good way.
Right. Yeah, because people can have an odd feature and still be beautiful.
There's actually a French word for that, French term. It's in English it would just be like ugly beautiful. I don't remember what it is in French, but it's actually a French thing.
Ramdog 1138 said he made a cartoon about the Zegler/Evita fallout.
Oh, that's right.
She's been quote unquote let go of the production.
Oh, really? I forgot about. I think that was news last week. Yeah, that she was let go.
I wonder if it was for doing that.
Well, no, that's not on her. That's on the director, isn't it?
Unless
you don't just go outside and sing a song unless the director tells you that's what you're doing, right?
I would imagine she could get away with it once, but not over and over.
You cannot do that. That's not how. I'm not a theater. I've never acted in the theater besides when I was a little kid. You can't do things like that. I'm just going to go over here now.
Right, but that's why I'm saying I imagine she could get away with it once.
No, because the camera was set up to put her on the Jumbotron. How would they know if she just did it? Like, that was planned. That's the director. I'm not going to blame her for the decision. Although maybe you're right. Maybe she nagged the director and said, here's what I want to do. Here's what I'm thinking.
Or got the production people to go with it. What I'm using as an example, or how it's a possibility, is the Dodger game where the girl sang the national anthem in Spanish.
Oh, yeah.
There's video of her being told not to do it in Spanish. She must sing it in English. and she goes out there and sings it in Spanish. Now,
They should have just cut her mic.
that's exactly what I told my mom and pops is they should have cut her mic.
Yeah.
And I said, play the anthem from your iPhone on the microphone, something that affects the song and the event. Let's see. Ann Remdog also says Ziegler is a bratty theater kid.
Yeah, I saw someone say the problem with like the Obama years and the, Kamala, Biden, all that is like theater kids are running the government.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, in the worst way. And yeah, that's true. And not, so you could get confused about what that means and like, oh, it's insulting to the arts. And then the conservatives never support the arts the way they should. Like, no. What we mean by theater kids, we don't mean actually talented actors who give a crap about theater. We're talking about professional victim narcissist people who think they're theater people. Those people. We're not talking about actual artists who know what they're doing.
I'm not sure what draws these kinds of people to theater, but it does.
Well, I'll tell you, when I went to art school, I noticed immediately something that I'd never known because I wasn't around artists growing up. I was very much, a football player and all that stuff. And I just happened to really love to draw. So I was not around artists growing up. I wasn't in the theater in high school or anything like that. And when I got around a bunch of artists, it was very disappointing. It was very disappointing to see how much this was not about art and it was just about ego. I was shocked because to me, it's not about ego. To me, it's about a true love of art. And I will tell you, in my limited anecdotal experience of, a couple thousand or a couple hundred students in my art school at the university, the majority's attitude is to be a star, not to be not to love art, but to be famous and make money and be worshipped. That was the majority attitude that I saw. And I think that's, again, it's anecdotal, but I think that's a lot of artists are that way. I think in a profession like mine, where it's illustration, you can be egotistical, this, that, and the other, but drawing more so than any other art, you got to have the goods because people can immediately see if you can draw or not. You hold up a drawing and you're like, yes or no. If I tell you I'm a writer, like one of the biggest bullshit artist things ever is being a writer. Everyone thinks they're a writer because I can't just read your stuff in 1 second, right? I'm going to have to sit there and read your manuscript and blah, blah, blah. And there are so many people who think they're a writer and it's like, ooh, baby, you is not a writer. So I don't know. Everyone thinks they have good ideas and that is not what writing is. Writing is executing those ideas. But I digress. I'm going too far now.
Yeah, I think a lot of the other arts, you can fake your way through it, but I don't think you can fake your way.
Right, like a dancer, he can't fake that. Start dancing. We'll say drawing. Yeah, show me your drawings. Like really, like
I could fake drawing. I would have layouts done.
Oh.
And then go to a DC Comics panel.
Oh my goodness! Wow, you're being catty. You're being very catty. That is some old lore of DC Comics Comic-Con moments.
Right.
Yeah, that was not great.
Remdog 1138 says drawing is insular.
What do you mean it's insular? I know what the word insular means, but what do you mean? Oh, do you mean that we're always alone or something drawing or what does that mean?
I'm not sure what he's saying, but I think that's what that means because drawing doesn't require anyone else to be there.
Well, yeah, it's not a group activity.
Right. Antonia 707 says, get a job at a coffee shop near a college and you'll understand mindset of youth.
No thanks.
I don't think I can handle it.
Nah. I don't want to hear from the know-nothing know-it-alls.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I'll never forget. I think it was you and me, Gabe. We were at, I think, Macy's, and these little girls, and I'm not making fun of the little girls. I actually thought it was cute and funny. But it's exactly what I think Run Dog is saying, and where they just pick up these, the word of the week, I guess, but they were talking about, and oh shoot, I just lost my train of thought, but they were talking about these outfits and they kept saying, oh no, this just went nowhere. I can't think of the word they were saying, but they kept saying it over and over and over again, that it stuck with me up until this moment. But it wasn't their word. They just heard it. So I don't know. Diane Francis has a question. She says they're making a lifelike robot, an animatronic of Walt Disney. What are your thoughts? Oh, I just remember the word. They kept saying it was adorbs. You remember that?
Vaguely. That something was adorbs.
They were looking at.
I mean, that's just.
Kept saying it's adorbs. It's adorbs.
That's how slang works with kids. The word gets stuck in their head for a few weeks.
But I imagine that's what the coffee shop would be like, just hearing words like that are the word of the week.
As far as a lifelike robot of Walt Disney, I'm sure the lifelike quality of the robot and its speaking and all that will be great, because they are kind of the ones that did that in 1964 with the Mr. Abraham Lincoln, right? President Lincoln at the World's Fair. Disney is the ones that kind of came up with the animatronic stuff with that Lincoln. But it kind of doesn't matter, because you have to worry about the ideology of the people who are going to be telling it what to say. Is he going to be doing a land acknowledgement and apologizing to the indigenous people of whatever? Like,
what will his speech say?
Yeah, what will his speech say? That's more important than the robotics and all that, which I'm sure they have the technology and all that to be excellent. So I'm sure that will be fine. But will they put words in his mouth? I remember someone told me Stephen Hawking wasn't talking when you would hear that robot voice. And this was just a funny, like, fake conspiracy theory. They said that Stephen Hawking was so sick and disabled, he wasn't there. And that all that woke, like, atheist, whatever, was an agenda that his handlers just said he was saying. And I know it was just a crazy, silly thing someone told me, but I thought, there's no way to, like, prove that's not true.
That's right.
Like, because look at the authority he has, because he's so smart. And then he's going to say that there's no God and this and that and the other. And like, well, okay, Stephen Hawking said it. And someone told me, yeah, that's not him talking. That's just them making him say whatever they want him to say with that little voice, that voice thing.
Yeah.
And when they told me that, I was like, I don't know, could be true.
It's true. We wouldn't know.
Yeah, how would you know? So I think the same thing about Robo Walt Disney. He's going to get up there and are they going to have him get up there and like, you go girl kind of stuff and America sucks and this and that, and which is the antithesis of everything that Walt Disney wrote and said in public about patriotism and patriarchy and America. And he was a super patriot, Walt Disney. Yeah. So it wouldn't shock me if they made him that, like whatever. If they corrected him. Now it's time for Walt Disney to sit and learn,
For his apology speech.
Right. I think they'll get rid of him. I think they'll get rid of him, like in 30 years' time, they'll get rid of him. They'll erase him from the company and they won't call it the Disney company anymore. I think that's what eventually will happen. And I don't think I'm wrong. When you look at leftists, that's what they do. They let the men, the masculinity, the patriarchy make everything. Food, shelter, clean water, technology, everything. And then they erase dad and say, I did this. I did this all myself. So I think they would love nothing more than just get rid of him as a concept and change the name of the company to something woke and wishy-washy and this and that. I think that's coming eventually if they can get away with it. I think they'd do it today if they could get away with it.
I think that Randall is right. He says at Diane Francis, considering what love for animatronics, he'd like it. But because he's no longer with us, you're right, maybe then like what will it say?
Yeah.
But I do think he would feel honored that they made one of him.
Well, I mean, look at what leftists always do. Something as simple as truth, justice, and the American way with Superman, right? And then they start acting up in the comic books. This is when I left DC Comics 4 years ago or whatever it was. And the movie coming out on my birthday, by the way. How dare you on my birthday? Truth, Justice, and a Better World. And that's intentional. That's intentional hatred of America, hatred of mom and apple pie and baseball, hatred of our ways, saying they aren't great, and the whole globalism, bring in 1 million illegal immigrants, blah, 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 truth, justice, and a better world. That's better. That's why they changed the slogan to that. F America, and this whole globalist thing is better. It's very transparent that that's what that is. It's an ugly resentment of our cultural patrimony. So I think they'll do the exact same thing to Walt Disney. I mean, look at what they've already done to his company. What else can they do?
Yeah, I think it's really sad that they hate America so much that they would shut an entire, it's not a ride, but the show there at Disneyland with the Hall of Presidents.
Right, they're getting rid of that in Florida, right? The Hall of Presidents is going away.
Well, and it hasn't been open at Disneyland when we went.
Yeah.
But it's sad because that's so patriotic. It was like also innovative for its time.
Right.
And it's a nice place to go. And
when it's hot, it's nice and air conditioned and dark to rest.
And your kids are sleeping.
Right.
But it's really it's very just like pleasing to be there when you go and watch it, and you can appreciate the art, the country, the history of the U.S. And they're like, oh no, that's enough of this. We'll get rid of this because we don't like who's in power.
I do wish that these leftists would work out their mental problems on their own time and not on our beloved entertainment. That's a major problem. It's like, we get it. Your dad wasn't there, so now you've projected onto men and fathers and God and patriotism that you hate all this because your dad was a deadbeat or whatever. Or maybe you were a little shit and maybe your dad had a reason to be mad at you. I don't know. Either way, your problems with your dad are not my problems with your dad. You don't need to try and destroy my country and culture because you're angry at your father.
Well, and also, it's like, who hasn't had a problem growing up with their parents, whether it was justified or not? It's, as teenagers, you go through that time where you're questioning everything, or, you might naturally have a disagreeable personality where you're just like, no, or you question it, or, you like to get into trouble and stuff. Everybody goes through this with their parents. Nobody's childhood, even the ones that were not trauma in their household, they go through rough patches of just growing up because life is not 100% perfect. But you don't go out there and destroy the world because of it.
But they do. They're mad at their mom, their dad. It's mostly the dad they're mad at.
Usually, yeah. But not only that, it's like, I think a lot of people, it takes them a long time, if they ever get there, to know that you've got to let it go, because when you grow up angry and your adult is just filled with anger because of your parents, you're the only one living that. A lot of times the parents, if they are narcissists or they are just jerks or whatever, because that happens sometimes, they're not sitting there thinking about everything that happened to you as a young child. They feel justified.
Yeah.
And so you just live in that world of hatred and anger and resentment, and you're thereby living it by yourself. The person you're angry with is not living that same life.
Yeah, there's that whole, I forget, I think it was one of the Greeks, but they were basically saying revenge, and we could substitute in the concept of resentment. But revenge was like drinking poison and expecting your enemy to die.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's something like that. I kind of butchered it, but you get my point. Like, just being negative about things, being bitter and holding on to shit forever. It's like, yeah, you're holding on to shit. You want to hold on to shit? Does that sound like a good idea? No, you don't want to do that. So yeah, all that stuff. And that's where the left is. The leftism is always easy to diagnose. It's always the same thing. It's always, at its core, it's hurt feelings with the father. That's what it is. Whether they're justified or not, that's what it is. And you got to get over that stuff. It's a long time ago and it's over, and there's no way to go back and fix it. There's no time machine. What are you doing? So I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of
Well, I mean, again,
crazy to just be stuck there and have arrested development.
yeah, you're not going to get anywhere thinking like that. You're just not, So it's not great.
Antonia 707 in regards to Walt, because Walt was anti-commie pro-USA.
Oh yeah, Walt testified the House Committee for Un-American Activities for McCarthy and all that, and turns out they were right about that stuff.
Diane Francis says, I wish we could deport them all to the socialist countries so they could get a taste of reality and see what they're protesting for. They have no idea.
Well, I mean, this is what we get for not having fathers be in charge. Men in the past wanted to be nice and give women equality and all this stuff, but basically abdicate their responsibility, basically. And this is how it ends up without a leader. The men are supposed to be leaders for the women and children, and culturally they're not. By and large, they're not. So this is what you get. This is how it's going to be. It can't be any other way. Of course, it's going to be this way. So.
Yeah, I think they don't actually know what socialism looks like and the suffering that goes on, because it would end up being them unless you're part of the leadership. I think everybody suffers.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, this is why you got to have the strong fathers and all that strong male leadership. You have to have it. But I don't know. There's a saying I heard once from this famous, therapist guy. Women cannot go where men will not lead. And, it sounds sexist and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, if you doubt me, why don't you look at what happens in real life? Look at the ghetto. Look at the barrio. Look at it and be honest with you. That's the female leadership. Those are households run by single mothers and their whole communities and neighborhoods of it. How does it look to you? Look at the outcomes of those people raised by single mothers. The jail, the teen pregnancy, the no graduating high school, the drug use, the dying young in violent death, getting arrested. Those statistics are not increased with single motherhood. They skyrocket. They skyrocket because they're not fit to lead. I'm sorry, it's genetic. That's not how they're fit to nurture and love and all that, which is equally important but different. And this whole postmodern idea that men and women are interchangeable and the same it's deadly to society at large and to people individually. So if you doubt me about female leadership, look at ghettos, look at barrios, look at them. Nobody's doing worse in America than those places that lack male leadership. And if you look at the outcomes for people that have good, not just a man living under their roof, that still is no father. A father is activated and engaged and showing up every day for the wife and kids in that role. When you look at those families and then you look at the kids and, magically they have careers and they're stable and they're not abusing drugs and they're not, doing all this stuff. And it's like, is it because they're better people? No, they were given a better childhood that then gave them a better life and better discipline and this, that, and the other. So this is the answer, but we gotta, now it's, now with the divorce courts, all that's so disincentivized, right? Men are terrified to get married because they can lose their ass, with the no fault divorce, they can lose everything. Having done nothing wrong, they can just lose everything. You don't want to sign up for that. So, that is a tragedy for the culture. That's very bad, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's it doesn't lead anywhere good, that's for sure.
I don't know. And I don't understand, Jericho and I talk about this a lot, like the deadbeat dads. So I don't understand that. Like you get a woman pregnant, this, that, and the other, you have kids, and then you just, good luck, guys. See you later. Okay. I don't know. I don't know how you could live with yourself being that way. I don't know. Just thinking about your little ones and all that, and them crying and missing you and suffering and not having enough money and this and that. And what is their day-to-day life like? Are they sad? Are they lonely? Do they need your help? Are they being bullied? Are they being, you know what I mean? Are they being threatened? Are they just scared of the world and they don't have you to protect them? And I don't understand and am quite disgusted by the men that would do that. It's, to me, it's you're not a man. You're just an overgrown boy. You want to do things like that. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't understand that.
It's despicable.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, the weirder one to me is when a mom does it. I just can't comprehend that.
Yeah, that seems, we always give women a pass for some reason. We never hold them responsible for what they do. So the immediate impulse is, well, she must be mentally ill. And then you think, no, she could just be a selfish chunk of shit, just like the guy. That could be it too. Like the impulse in the head is always to give the woman a pass. I'm not sure why. Even myself. But no, not giving a pass on that. That's crap. So
the sad thing is, though, is the statistics for children raised by their father are as good as the statistics of children raised by both parents. So if you're going by that, it would be better if there were single fathers instead of single mothers.
For sure. And but that's still, I would say you still want both.
Of course.
But because women are too nice, and that's not good for discipline and reality, the reality check of life. Because women are loving and nurturing and nice, they're not going to be hard enough on the kids in the right way. You need to be hard enough as a father to say, hey, this isn't a game. You could die, you could go to jail. We don't do this shit. That's something fathers do that mothers cannot do. And you say, oh, that's sexist. Well, if they could do it, the ghetto and the bar wouldn't look the way they look. Sorry. I go by facts. I go by what I'm seeing in real life. And if they could do it, they would do it. And because they can't do it is not a criticism. It's just an observation. It's not fair to leave them that way. I don't understand the men that do. It's really, really a nightmare for everyone involved. And I just think of those little kids, so sad, neglected, an iPad shoved in front of their face, and just, it's just terrible. Mom's got the revolving door of boyfriends coming and going. That's good. That's really great for their mental health, Are you my dad? Oh, mom and the new guy broke up. More abandonment. Awesome.
Or they have a ton of uncles.
Right. Jeez.
Yeah.
What I think in regards to being irresponsible and not raising your kids, I would ask people, are you as intelligent as a squirrel or a bee or an ant? Because I see them raise their children. That is the standard, people. Can you, like that old game show, are you smarter than a fifth grader? Are you less intelligent than a squirrel? Or can you raise your children? I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll all see.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I know, men and women are just different. I had, raising our kids, I had tremendous guilt if I had to discipline them. I felt awful.
See, and as a father, I feel the opposite way. I'm going to feel guilt about not disciplining them and then watch them ruin their life and end up dead or in prison. That's what would make me feel guilty.
Well, I was smart enough to still do it because I didn't want out of control children. But it didn't change the fact that I had guilt, that I could overcome that, because you can't have crazy kids or kids out of control.
Right. And it's not even selfish for me, like, oh, I want them to be quiet, whatever, so they don't bother me. It's like, no, I don't want them to die or go to jail because I was too wimpy to tell them, hey, you can't do that. No, I don't want to get some horrible news someday. It's terrible, to let them down like that. That'd be just horrible.
Right.
I don't know. You're giving these people, they're little human beings, and you're given the solemn responsibility of like, make sure you give this person a chance in this world. You know, they're if you stop looking at them as your own children for a minute, you just look at them as other humans that you've been assigned to usher into life. And yeah, it's your responsibility. You know, God's giving this to you. Make sure this person doesn't end up dead, in jail, miserable, you know, bankrupt, whatever. Make sure this is your responsibility. They don't have a choice in it. They're a little child. They don't know anything about anything. They're born. They don't know how to speak or walk or anything. It's your job to usher them into the world and give them the best chance possible. And the thing you do think about as a parent is when you're gone. You think, like, do you want them suffering and crying themselves to sleep and in a horrible, miserable situation when you're dead and gone and can no longer help? That's another big reason to help. Like, make sure they're set up to automate this thing once you're out of the picture, you know? So, I don't know.
Yeah, that's, I think, something that a lot of parents kind of stay up at night thinking about. Are they going to be able to make it on their own?
Yeah.
Ram Dog says, if you can train a puppy, you can train a child. I learned Starship Troopers.
Right.
But it's true.
I find in life, it's not hard to do good at anything if you just care. If you just care enough about your own self-respect to say, I'm going to try to be a good moral person, you can get a lot done if you look at life through that lens, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you're that's very true, because if you're just kind of, you know, coasting through life, you're just like, it'll work itself out. Don't take the time to do it, but the consequences are bad when you do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are you working on again, Gabe?
I can't talk about this one. This one's a secret project. Like, obviously, it's a guy surfing. But it's just something I have to work on. It's coming out nice though. I'm glad I surfed growing up. Gives me a little bit of edge on this. I didn't look up any reference drawings for this one. I just kind of remembered what I did when I was in. It was mostly middle school and then a little bit into high school. I did some surfing. But once I got into high school, it was mostly football and all that. Took a lot of my time for athletics, football and basketball. So we didn't. It's strange living in California. You don't go to the beach a lot unless you live right on the beach. And even living 3, 4, 5 miles from the beach, you don't go to the beach nearly as much as the people who don't live here would think you do. And it's just kind of a hassle to get to the beach. It just kind of is. There's never any parking. It's, you know, it's always packed. And I don't know. I remember talking to Dean, and he lived in Malibu, and he said he hadn't been to the beach like, you know, in 5 years. That's weird.
That's pretty crazy. We did have one year when the kids were in high school where I would go to work really early and I'd be home by 2, I think. And I would call the kids and tell them to be ready to go to, we go snorkeling in La Jolla Cove. And I tell them, be ready to go to the beach. I'll be home in 20 minutes. And we went. We were going like 3 times a week, and it was for like the whole summer.
Yeah, that was fun.
And that was pretty amazing. In La Jolla Cove, they have, once you go out like, I don't know, 8 feet, the ground drops. And then it's like 20 feet. And then you go a little bit further and it's really deep. So
yeah, there's a shelf there where it's hundreds of feet after just a little while. There's like a canyon right off there. And there's sharks there and everything.
Yeah.
And that stuff. You have to be careful not to go out that way. But they're not huge sharks, aren't they? Like lemon sharks and stuff like that. And,
well, there's the nurse sharks.
Right. And they're not particularly dangerous. They're not man eaters, you know.
I don't think those can even bite you because of where their mouth is. You would have to they're always on the ground of the
right.
The ocean floor.
I caught a sand shark by accident once.
I've seen sand sharks be caught.
It was little.
Yeah, and stingrays.
Right.
You have to be careful. I can't remember the other sharks that are there at the shores. And the last summer I went paddleboarding quite a bit with my sister. We kept going to La Jolla shores, and you're out there and you can see the ground, and the sharks just are like going underneath your paddleboard, and it's actually really, really cool.
Yeah, I remember I saw dolphins once, and that was really nice.
And I saw a sea turtle once.
I've never seen a sea turtle.
We were at I thought it was a shark, so I turned around to go back in, and because it was just like this big dark circle, but there happened to be a lifeguard that was coming out, and she told us it was. I think she overheard us talking because it was Minnie and me, and she told us that it's been the same sea turtle for years that comes back every year.
Oh wow!
And it is pretty big, or it was pretty big. I don't know.
Yeah, those things can get huge.
Antonius 707 says beaches here are cold as fuck.
Where do you live, Antonius?
I don't know where.
I think he was in Texas. No, if he was in Texas, it'd be warm, right? Because they got that whole Gulf Coast, and it's horrible and humid.
You have to tell us where you're at, Antonius. As a kid, I never surfed, but I did grow up boogie boarding. And when we would go to the ocean, we would go there from morning until almost sunset or sunset. We'd be there all day long. My mom would cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we'd be like in the water for hours. I don't know. I think about it now, and I would be a little nervous. She had 4 kids, and we were just spread out all over the beach. We would go down to there was a pier, and if you walk like, I don't know, a mile or two, there's a jetty, and then there's just, the ocean right in front of you. But we'd be on we'd be in the water, on the pier, at the jetty, all over the place, or at the park, because there was a park there too. And she let us do it for hours and hours and hours. And I don't know how she didn't worry, like, where are they?
Just how it was.
I know. I know that's how it was, but I couldn't imagine doing it.
Well, and it's what we were talking about earlier. It was a father-led culture. So when kids would go leave the house on Saturday morning and not come back till dinner, the parents weren't afraid, because if they were getting afraid, the father would tell the mom, they're fine. They're down by the creek. They're catching crawdads. They're fine. And this is another problem with the lack of the father-led culture. You have these women getting hysterical and afraid, and no man to be like the rudder in the storm to calm them the hell down. They're not going to die. They're not going to get kidnapped. Nothing's going to happen. It's fine. I did this as a kid. And yeah, that's part of what men are supposed to do for women, is like, calm down, honey. It's okay. And when you have this culture of no man, I don't need no man, and all the single mother, the broken homes, or the man in the home, but he's weak. He's not allowed to say anything. He's henpecked. Yeah, then the women are going to freak out and let their imagination get the best of them. And now there's a kidnapper under every blade of grass in their imagination, right?
Right.
So remember I showed you that video online of the woman putting those air tags
Yes.
for her, first grade son. He's going off to class every day. She puts an air tag in his shoe, in his backpack, and in his jacket, because she's hysterical in her mind. She needs to calm down.
That's a good way to traumatize your kid.
Right. What are you telling your kid when you act like that around him? You're scaring the hell out of him, because kids are just believing your actions. What you say may or may not be true. That doesn't matter. Kids are just watching what you do. So that's just foolish of that lady to do that.
It really is. And I think sometimes people don't think about this kind of stuff, because their mind is just forming, and you are telling them that you should be terrified.
That's what you're telling them with that behavior. It's crazy.
Yeah. And even though I just got through saying, like, I can imagine just letting my kids run off like that for hours, I just realized that I did let them do that. Because when they were in elementary school, on Wednesdays, they got out of school early, and you worked for Wildstorm, which is in La Jolla.
DC Comics. You gotta know the audience. They might not know what Wildstorm is.
DC Comics, and the office was right there on the beach in La Jolla. And I would take them down there. They would have lunch with you, and then they would go swim at the cove for about 2 hours until I got off of work, and then I'd go down there and meet them and go swimming with them, and then take them home.
Yeah, they didn't drown, they didn't get kidnapped, nothing happened. Yeah, I remember I saw a news story last year where some lady she's gonna go to jail, or they're gonna take her kid because she let him ride the subway from the house to the bodega in New York to buy some peanuts or something. I don't know. Completely normal behavior that we did as kids just in the 90s growing up. Like I rode my bike to the comic book store like 6 miles from my house. It's not a big deal. It took like an hour to ride my bike that far. And I don't know, like calm down, everyone.
My friend and I would take the bus from Escondido to Del Mar to go to the Del Mar Fair. And we'd be there all day by ourselves. And then her parents would meet us there after the dad got out of work. And we'd have dinner and they'd look around and we'd go home. Go home with them. But we would do that like once or twice during the day.
But again, without a father, you get these mothers, single mothers, they're already stressed out from being a single mother because it's terrible to have to raise a child by yourself. It's so much stress. And then their imagination, and let's call a spade a spade. Females are known to be a little bit more fearful than men, right? And just slightly, and they start imagining these scenarios of kidnappers and dangerous people getting a hold of the kids and this, that, and the other, and shit that is just not likely at all to happen. It's a tragedy when it does happen, but it's just not likely. Like why? I don't know. Like you're gonna get that worked up. You're gonna get worked up to the level of something being very likely that isn't likely at all. And that's not healthy, or it's not helpful. You're putting so much energy into something that's just not going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Antonia 707 says he's in Sonoma County, and I looked at a map, and that's above San Francisco.
Yeah, everything's cold up there.
Yeah, so it's pretty cold up there, and from what I've heard, the San Francisco waters are like infested with sharks because it's so cold or something like that. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I've heard it's very cold up there. Mark Twain has that saying that the coldest winter he ever experienced was that summer in San Francisco.
Right.
So it's pretty chilly weather up there. So.
And Rum Dog 1138 says, love the coves at La Jolla and Encinitas. They still had sand. As far as I know, they still have sand now.
Sure. Where would it go?
I'm not sure.
The geography doesn't change.
Yeah, La Jolla Shores. I found that beach when I was in high school, and it instantly became my favorite beach. I was up to my neck in water because I loved just swimming out in the ocean. And I could still see my feet because the water was that clear.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, this is amazing. This is beautiful.
Yeah, anyone that visits San Diego, you realize you can save money and not visit Hawaii. San Diego's actually nicer. It's a nicer place to visit. The beaches we have some beaches that are just as pretty, and we have weather that's a million times better. Hawaii, for those who don't know, has horrible weather. You're going to spend all that money to go to Hawaii, and you're going to be miserable because it is so freaking humid. It's terrible. It's so terrible, the weather there. Just really, yeah.
You took a shower and you get out of the shower, dry off, and feel like you need to take a shower.
Right. It's Hawaii. I don't know. I don't want to visit. No thanks. Been there twice. No thanks.
I really liked it. I thought it was beautiful, but we went to, which island did we go to?
Big Island. Oahu.
Oahu.
Yeah.
The only beach that I thought was better than La Jolla was Lanakai.
Yes, I mean it doesn't even matter,
But
the weather's so bad, it just doesn't matter.
Doesn't make it as enjoyable, right?
Nobody wants to be humid. That's the worst weather. You could have the heat of Phoenix, Arizona, You could have the freezing temperatures, up north. I'll take all of those before humid,
Yeah.
Really. It's the worst.
And when we went to Disney World
In Orlando, right.
to Orlando, we lucked out because we went in November, and I think we were there for 5 days, and every day was nice except for one day. And apparently, we only experienced like a touch of how bad it gets,
Yeah,
and it was not great.
Yeah, the humidity. I don't know how people live in that crap.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was the same as Hawaii. Like, you wash your hands, you go to the bathroom, wash your hands, and you just kind of feel grimy still.
Yeah. Not fun.
Right. What else? Well, if we want to talk about the beach some more, the first time I went surfing, or I can't really say I went surfing because I've never stood up on a board. I get to my knees and I fall, and I hate it. And then the last time I went out, the water was really rough, and I got a ton of water up my nose, and I haven't tried surfing since.
Oh.
But Peter really enjoyed it, and he was actually fairly good.
Right. And see, that's another thing. Now, granted, he was, 17, 18, 19, but he used to just go surfing. He surfed since middle school, though, our son. And we didn't get scared or want him to not go or whatever. And when he had a driver's license, finally, he would go. Remember his friend Casey? They'd go surfing and stuff. And
when he was in, I think, 6th grade, and Minnie was in 8th grade, and they would go with their youth pastors. They did that for a couple summers, and they would go surfing once a week, and then he'd take them to Jack in the Box.
We would take him to have lunch with me too at Waldstrom.
Sometimes, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So, do you have any updates on Kairos you want to talk about, or Imperium before we?
No, just things are going well. The book is Imperium is off to the printer. I already printed some copies of it, mailing those out today to select people for review. I want people I know and trust and care about their opinion and have influence to read this, and then tell you guys how great it would be for you to back it. And that's going to be my birthday, my 47th birthday, July 24th. We're going to launch the crowdfund for this. But the way you do it, I was talking about this yesterday. One thing I've learned being in the independent comics world for a few years now, after leaving DC Comics and Warner Brothers and all that, is something I already knew about business is customer service. And what I see happening with too many Indiegogo, Kickstarter, all these kind of things is horrible, horrible customer service. Not answering people's emails, books being years and years late, books coming out and they're horribly written or, just substandard and this, that. And you guys put so much faith and money and hard-earned money. I understand that people work so hard and they get taxed so much, and car insurance, groceries, everything freaking costs so much with the damn inflation. It's getting better, but it's still not great for most people. So when you give me a penny, I'm not going to do anything to hurt you guys, to be wrong, to treat you bad, to make you feel bad. I'm going to give you the best entertainment for your dollar, and I'm going to deliver it on time. And yes, that does matter. There's that argument I've seen in the independent comics world of quality versus timeless. Like, you don't have to choose. You can make something of the highest quality like I do, and you can deliver it when you say you're going to. Hey, you pre-order this, you'll get it, in 60 days or 90 days or whatever we decide. We'll tell you that up front, and your expectation that you have of me will absolutely be met. I guarantee it. And I've only done that since I've started doing this. I've done what I said I was going to do, because why the hell wouldn't you? But this thing is a masterpiece. It's absolutely beautiful. And I can't wait to get these to some of my friends so they can read it. And I told them, and if you love it, give me a positive review online and let everyone know. Yeah, July 24th, you'll be getting this. The Tyrus book, that'll be coming this fall. Almost done with that. The thing you see here, the surfer, you don't need to know what that is. You'll find out about that soon enough. But I got a lot of things cooking. It's a lot of fun. So thank you all for being here. Follow me on X, on Big Man Comics, on Facebook, Instagram, and right here on YouTube. I'm Gabe Taib. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel and you've hit the notification, all that good stuff. And on TikTok, which we got to start making TikToks. We got to. Why did I make the account for? I'm Big Man Comics 1. And go to bigmancomics.com right now and scroll down to contact us. Get on the mailing list. and you'll be able to find out some stuff early about this and Tyrus and other things, what we're doing before the general public. All right, guys, I will talk to you tomorrow, every Monday through Friday, 11 noon Pacific. I'm here drawing live, taking questions, talking to you guys about life and art. And on Tuesday nights at 7 Pacific, I do an improv comedy show where we are supposed to talk about movies and what we love about them or what we hate about them with the great Jericho Green. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.